This is Punk Rock and Politics, and today is May 30th, 2017, and this is episode number 24. Let's do this!
These days are strange, it's true.
I would bomb the shit out of them.
If you think that punk rock doesn't mix with politics, you're wrong.
Welcome to Punk Rock and Politics. Today we'll be talking to Colin and Rob from the band The Challenged about their band's 15-year anniversary, the lack of third parties, and the problem with the mainstream news media. Then on Open Mic's last call, we'll talk about Jeremy Corbyn and the UK snap elections. So let's get to the political mosh pit, but first, here's the news of the week.
Here's what's making news.
A federal appellate court upholds the block on President Trump's travel ban. The executive order will now most likely be heard in the Supreme Court, ultimately deciding the law's fate. And more news out of the Russian Trump soap opera. The Jeff Bezos CIA-funded Washington Post released another anonymous report that Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, set up a secret communication with the Russian ambassador during the 2016 presidential elections. The Republicans are denying the report's validity, and the Democrats will forget about this once the next shiny alleged report is released. President Trump returns to the U.S. after his first overseas trip and has plans on revising a set of policies softening relations with Cuba. The U.S.-Cuban Trade Economic Council, a nonpartisan group, said the Trump administration is preparing to announce the changes to Obama-era policies, according to the Daily Caller. And on this day in rock history, May 30th, 1964, American musician, singer, songwriter, and political activist Tom Morello was born. So happy birthday, Tom, and keep fighting the system. And that's the news of the week. I always get a crazy look when I tell someone my favorite musical genre is pop punk, but that's why I get so excited when I discover a band like The Challenged, who illustrate exactly what great, raw, underground pop punk should sound like. The Challenged is a three-piece punk band from Brooklyn, New York, and these guys have been writing, recording, and playing shows as a band for 15 years now, and they show no sign of slowing down anytime soon. They just released a new full-length album late 2016 titled Sunk Costs, and it's a solid album with a classic punk feel, but musically delivered for a 2017 audience. And I'm so happy to know that bands like The Challenged exist, and they're still creating aggressive pop-punk music to inspire the next generation. So before we get to the interview with The Challenged, let's check out one of their songs so you can hear what I'm talking about. And this particular song has been stuck in my head for a week now. So here's Oh What a Day by The Challenged.
We'll be right back.
And that was Oh What a Day by The Challenge. And I have Rob, guitar and vocals, and Colin on bass, who are joining us today. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Good.
How are you doing?
You're good. I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for coming on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, for sure. I was checking out all your catalog, music catalog. It's pretty in depth because you guys have actually been around for quite a long time. 15-year anniversary is coming up on June 16th. So, like, how did you guys do it? How are you guys been a band for 15 years?
No, I think it's pretty easy when you're not super ambitious, right?
Yeah.
I'd say so, yeah.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. I mean, we do a record when we have enough songs for a record, and we tour when we can all tour, and our schedules kind of adapt to it, and we don't push it or put ourselves in super uncomfortable positions. So after a while, it's been 15 years, and you're just kind of doing it.
Nice. Yeah, there's and you keep putting out records and you're doing shows. So, I mean, that's awesome. But I think that's a really good point. And a lot of people lose sight of that. At the end of the day, isn't like being in a band just supposed to have fun?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the fact that we're all very, very close at this point. I mean, we've been together for a while. I've been in other bands where it was sort of, we're together when we practice, we're together when we play songs, but that was about it. And like, it's just not as fun. Even if the music is fulfilling and the shows are fun, like, it's so much better to hop in a car with people that you really enjoy hanging out with and just doing what you really enjoy.
So that's kind of like your word of advice for younger bands who are maybe looking for a new bassist or new guitarist or something to fill that position, and they want to do it for the long term. What would be, other than, friends, what would be a word of advice for the younger bands?
I would just say, play music with people you would want to hang out with.
Yeah.
It's almost cliche to say that, but it's really that simple when it comes down to it.
Unless you're the Eagles and they all hate each other. Get together once a year to pay a mortgage, and like if that's what you want to do, go for it. If you do that, or you're the Misfits, go for it. But
you've been seeing a lot of bands do that.
Yeah, it's definitely been an era of holy crap, they're playing another show.
Right.
Like a promoter sometimes just comes at a band with like a ton of money. They're like, oh, I guess we'll get together to play one more show. I think sometimes it happens that way, and it's like, like who knows what the Misfits got paid for Riot Festivals? Probably a lot,
Oh yeah.
After a while, once your payments start to dry up, like you're saying, and the revenue, you're not getting anything anymore. Going out there and playing, and then I'm sure your Spotify boosts and all that is going to go up. So that would be like residual income would keep coming in.
I mean, I was looking at it like this, like Rick Astley, who gets money directly every time you quote unquote Rickroll somebody.
Really?
That guy.
Really?
That guy's he's made like $14. So don't keep that in mind is all I can say.
So legally, he really got the rights for that?
Well, I mean, that's his video, so he gets a cut every time that airs. And I think that's, it's his song. It was the original video, so he has a right to a percentage of that revenue from that YouTube song being played. And I think that's, it's well into the millions of how many hits that song's got. And he's gotten, I don't know the exact amount, but it's less than like a dinner.
Oh yeah, I see. So if someone makes it into a meme, not so much. But if it's like, do it on a little video as like a trolling video on YouTube, then that would come up monetized. I see what you're saying. Okay. So, and you guys, like I was saying before, you have your anniversary show in Brooklyn on June 16th, and you guys are from Brooklyn. So, like, how is the scene out in Brooklyn? I know there's quite a bit of punk bands, and
it's huge. It kind of shrinks a little bit every now and then, but like it's always, every time a venue closes down, another one takes its place. There's so many spaces that people are just finding and having shows and building a community there. Unfortunately, there's not really longevity, because the curse of being a really cool DIY venue is that the owner of that building now realizes that's a hot property and promptly just kicks you to the curb. in hopes of getting something else that will pay more. But it seems like the community is pretty good at being mobile now. So as soon as one place is gone, another place takes the spot. That's just the things it has to be. And it's awesome. I think if it was easy, it wouldn't be as good.
Yeah, that's true. That's good that there's not a lack of venues, because I know in some places that's kind of one of the problems. But the fact that there's venues means people are going to shows, which means kids are going to start up new bands, which is fucking awesome.
Exactly. The best part is that, the next best band is that one that hasn't formed yet, and that's, as long as that keeps going, we're good.
Exactly, and that's why it's awesome that we have the old timers, like you guys around playing still and inspiring the kids. So let's play one more, and then we'll hop into the political mosh pit. So speaking of anniversary and everything, this one's titled "Happy Anniversary" by The Challenged. And that was Happy Anniversary by The Challenged. And I still have the guys from The Challenge, Colin and Rob, here with us in the political mosh pit. So let's get to the political mosh pit. So the lack of political parties was a huge topic for the past year here. What do you guys think about that, and what could we do to fix this problem?
I would think the fix, I don't know if it would happen, because I think the powers that be like kind of having this duopoly of a system where, there's almost this political pendulum where there's, for 8 years you had a Democrat, and now you have Republican. It kind of just swings back and forth. And I don't know if the two parties mind that much, but I think the solution would be, some sort of proportionate representation, within the House, where if, let's say, the Green Party got 5 or 7% of the vote, they would get 5 or 7% of the representation. That would be a better system that a lot of, I think, other countries have moved towards, like Australia or New Zealand have. And they pretty recently switched over because they realized they were getting pretty much what we have is like a very polarized system now. So
yeah, exactly. It's very polarized. And I almost think you're right that the two parties like it. It makes me think of the gerrymandered districts.
Yeah.
And they're almost kind of like there's, let's say 6 or 7 districts. They'll gerrymander 3 each, and then they'll have one that's like half and half up for grabs. So there's almost no competition. So it allows these people to be super extreme in these gerrymandered districts.
Yeah, it pretty much kills any positions that are anywhere in the middle. Or, I mean, the media likes it too, let's be honest. I mean, they like, having this is the party that's in power and this is anti that. It just makes a really easy narrative to pitch during, a 2-minute news segment,
Right. And it's, the problem almost seems like just within the entire political structure from the top down, because you have the federal and the presidential debates that don't allow the Libertarian or the Green Party to debate in the debates. And then you have on the lower levels, city council, races that they really don't. There's not very. I think Seattle has a green mayor, but other than that, there's not very many city councils and mayors that have third-party people in it, which you'd think that would be the best place to do it.
I think that's the most likely places where you could get third parties in there, or at least a different shade of the two parties in there. But I think a lot of that has to do with participation in local politics. Even the issue with gerrymandering, like the voter turnout for a non-presidential election is always terrible every year. But as whoever's in charge during the census, those are the guys that draw their districting maps. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the fact that a political party gets to redraw the maps. And there is at least a movement now, whether how popular it is, there is at least something that is pushing towards an independent body to redraw those maps. But, I still feel like there could be more participation on the off elections and more focus on local elections. But example, in New York City, there's not, it's mostly Democrats in the city council. And the primaries are the big events. And that's the same in my hometown of Philadelphia, is that it almost seems like the general election is an afterthought. It's whoever wins the primary wins that. So you have every right and you should get out there and get active within the two-party system to get if you're a more progressive Democrat, get a more progressive person to win that primary. I would love the two-party system does not represent the way I feel about politics, but I still think there's a way to use that system to get our voices heard.
Yeah, and I agree. I think locally is really where the main change is going to happen. Because this is a great example. So in 2016, you have after the whole Bernie Sanders thing with Hillary Clinton and the DNC, a lot of people kind of left the Democratic Party. They went green, and then a lot of the Hillary Clinton people blame the Green Party voters for the loss. So right now in Britain, you have the Green Party making a push to get a lot of voters, but they're kind of making the argument because you have Jeremy Corbyn and then you have Theresa May who are running for Prime Minister in about 2 weeks or so. It's really close, but a lot of people are saying if you vote for the Green Party, then you're going to hurt Jeremy Corbyn, who's really he's like a Bernie Sanders leftist. So what would you think, and what's your perspective on like the federally voting? Is it a spoiler vote or does it mean something?
I mean, I don't know if I agree with all of that stuff because I mean I can't predict what's going to happen in England, but I know. If you look at numbers-wise, what happened with the election here is that, I've watched shows like Bill Maher and stuff where he says, super liberals or super progressives are kind of being problematic on this vote. But if you look at the numbers, that's not actually true. I mean, Hillary Clinton won by over 3 million votes. And where were most of those votes? I mean, that's like on the coasts, New York, California, Washington. So where all the super liberals are kind of concentrated, I think most people took the common sense approach and were like, even if I'm a Bernie guy, I'm going to go with Hillary. I don't know if there was that rebellious kind of anti-Hillary vote. I think if you look at the numbers where she lost was the swing states where there was a lot of independent voters. I mean, there were polls from just a couple of years ago where like half the country was independent, so you've got to think she probably lost in most of the states where people were kind of on the cuff, where, am I going to go with Hillary? Am I going to go with Trump? So I don't know so much that the Green vote or, people being, as they're referred to as Bernie-crats affected to it, because she did get 3 million more votes, mainly on the coast, in these super liberal states. So.
Yeah, I would be one of the Bernie-crats. I mean, I voted for Jill Stein merely as mostly a protest vote because I'm here in California. So, like you
How
said,
dare you?
Yeah, but like out here in California, it's like the state is going to go blue no matter what. So.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, like when I hear, I'm a big like Bill Maher fan. I watch his show, and for the past couple of weeks, he's been kind of reaming super progressive people. I'm like, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that narrative is true, that the liberals cost, I think Democrats kind of have to own this as a loss,
And they're not, and that's the problem, really.
Yeah. I mean, I was a huge Bernie guy, but when it came down to it, I voted Clinton. Like, I mean, it was a no-brainer, so I don't know where this narrative comes from.
And I will say, in New York, we have the luxury of voting for the same candidate through a different party. So I voted for Clinton through the Working Families Party, sort of give them a leg up. And I think that's a great idea. I think more states should have that, where multiple parties can nominate the same candidate and you could vote through that party specifically.
Okay, yeah, here you have to either be registered a Democrat or specifically no party preference. So if you were Green or Libertarian or whatever, you had to vote in the Green or Libertarian primary. The only people who could switch over, it was no party preference. That's in the primary here. So
yeah,
I mean, they have to make it as complicated as possible, of course.
That's how I meant in the general election, multiple parties can nominate the same candidate. In the primaries, I think those are still.
Oh yeah.
You have.
Well, yeah, in the general election, there's you can vote for really whoever.
I mean, my line of thinking was there are two realistic choices. If you are willing to dig your heels in and vote to give a third party 10% for federal matching, then go for it. But like, I didn't feel like that was that election. And, I understand I did not vote for Hillary Clinton in the primaries. She was definitely not my candidate, but considering choices, and the ramifications of that, I felt like it was my responsibility to vote against Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people ended up coming back and doing that. Also, what you're saying about how Hillary lost, not only she lose the swing states, but it was also the Rust Belt. That was really what did her in for the loss, was the Rust Belt and the white working middle class Reagan Democrat that the Democrats abandoned.
Those are the same states that Bernie did very well in.
Exactly. And that's the whole, the whole meme, Bernie would have won meme, and.
Yeah, I don't know. I certainly, I'm not going to make that claim that he would have won. I would have, it would have been a better campaign.
I don't know
campaign for me.
Yeah, I don't know if he would have won, but it would have been a clear choice between two different directions for America, right or left, as opposed to like the same old shit versus some chaotic new path.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are discounting the fact that I think Bernie Sanders had a pretty successful primary. If you look at Clinton's platform when the primary started compared to when she hit the general election, a lot of that was the progressive platform, and a lot of that was due to pressure of the fact that she was losing votes to a pretty energetic Bernie Sanders base. And, I hate to tie that to Bernie Sanders because that base was sort of looking for anybody to agree with them. Mm-hmm. And I think he stepped in at the right time. He's been saying the right thing in my eyes for, since the early 2000s.
Since like the 80s. Yeah.
I typically would go home and a roommate and I would just watch C-SPAN for hours at a time when we were in college. And you can debate whether or not that was good for our social lives or not. But I would light up when he would pop in and talk, because I was like, I didn't know there was a guy at the time I was in college. I didn't know there was a guy that thought like me, that was not only a successful politician, but able to shape policy in such a high level of government. So that was really the turning point for me, was Bernie Sanders and a handful of other guys, watching them on TV saying like, I didn't know. I thought this was a section of politics that Americans sort of like brushed to the side, but it's good to know that there wasn't just a college kid thing to say that college should be free. There wasn't just a college and all these other things that we should be taking care of as a society. So it was great to hear. I think he had a great run, and I think he had a lot of influence on it. And the trick now is to keep that momentum going, to continue to influence the Democratic Party to where if we run out of rope, then a lot of people are wanting a new party, and I get that. And I get that, because I want a party that I can vote for without a compromise, instead of just saying they're worse than the other team. But I think the way to do that, and the way the current structure is, and the fact that there's so much money, it's hard to change the system, is that you can, at the local level, take over that local and build up to take over that Democratic state party, and then build that up so much so that where the people at the top, their job is to keep the money flowing by keeping people happy. So if we have a loud enough voice to tell them that we're not going to be happy unless this happens, that's what's going to change.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if you were following it. I think you're right, but I don't think the DNC has really gotten the message yet. But I think they might. Speaking of like the progressives, there was a progressive Bernie-crat running in Montana, and he's running against, I don't know what the name is, but it's their only congressional district. And the Republican actually like assaulted a reporter the day before the election. And and I believe he won, but the Bernie-crat only lost by about 6 or 7%, which in Montana, like red Montana, 6 or 7%, I think that's pretty good.
That's huge. Yeah.
I mean, the problem is, I don't know if Democrats are running a 50-state race. They might not be paying attention to that, and I don't think they are. So,
and I wouldn't discount the fact that guy body slamming that reporter didn't help him win. And I hate to say that, but I really think it did.
Yeah. Well, actually, I heard they were analyzing the votes, and actually the same day vote, calculations were the same as the pre-mailed in. So essentially, the dude body slamming the reporter changed the votes, didn't change the votes at all, because the pre-mail-in votes were the same percentage as the same day votes. Wow. Yeah, so it didn't really do anything. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Trump, I mean, all the tape, the pussy grabbing thing, all that stuff came out, and it did not affect his popularity whatsoever,
Well, I listen to right-wing talk radio, and here in Southern California, it's San Diego, it's kind of Republican, but even here on the radio, people were saying, "Oh, the reporter deserved it," and this and that. I'm like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, it's so disconnected from what you think just decent behavior should be. Like, the reporter asked a question, whatever the question is, like, either answer it or don't. Like, why would you?
I think it was on healthcare about how 23 million people will be cut under the health insurance or something. So it wasn't even like he was asking some, TMZ type question.
No, it wasn't like an ambush. It was literally like, you're walking into you're going to Washington D.C. What do you think about this specific policy? Mm-hmm. And the guy got body slammed over it. Like, that's. I don't hate to break it to you, guy, but people are going to be asking about policy for the next couple of years.
Well, 2 years.
2 years at least. Yeah. Like, how are you gonna handle that one? But people were like, no, we're good. They think the mainstream media is the enemy, and this guy's a hero to a lot of people that voted for him.
Yeah, exactly. And Trump is painting the media as the enemy, which totally sucks, because the media totally sucks and is horrible at its job. So the fact that Trump is pointing out the media's flaws and twisting it in this sick way and saying that they're evil and they're fake and they're the enemy is wrong. But the media also works for the corporate interests and lies for the corporations. So how do you fix that or show that out to a Trump voter? I mean, it's like CNN kind of does suck.
Yeah,
you know?
It's like your buddy that you and your friends make fun of, but if anybody on the outside makes fun of, you're like, whoa, you can't do that.
Yeah,
it's our buddy. Like, that's our media. Like, it's they don't like him because they're so bad at trying to cover shit up that they're just finding everything. Like every day is another news story about how Trump and his cabinet are just really bad at hiding things. But that's not why the media sucks. Like, there's so many better reasons why the media sucks.
Exactly. Yes.
What was it? The one of the head guys of CBS who came out last year saying, why is Trump getting this much more coverage than Bernie? And he goes, well, look at our ratings. And then it doesn't take a lot of research to look up that CBS was directly benefiting from the super PACs and donating to the super PACs. So, I mean, you're always going to have that weird connection between, corporate politics in the media and money going back and forth between both of them. So on Trump's, from Trump's side, it's really easy to say, hey, look at these guys. They're not doing the right job. And then it's very easy to point the finger at them and kind of be truthful about the corporate stuff and totally discredit them even when they are saying probably honest things or, if they're being insightful on something. It's pretty easy to discredit them. And he's done that. You got to admit, he's done that pretty successfully.
Exactly. And that's that fake news thing. Like, and everyone gets so mad about the fake news, but if you go back and remember, it was CNN was the one who started the fake news, and then Trump took it and flipped it right back at him, and it just stuck on them.
Yeah. So that was a specific story about how there were a group of hackers in Macedonia. Flooding social media with literally fake news, like made up stories. CNN reported that, and then Trump, I think it was like day 5 in the White House, had already co-opted that term and was like blasting people in the briefing room, calling them fake news.
Yeah, was it after he got elected? He co-opted that. I thought it was like a few days before the election. But it was right. It was right on election, though. You're right.
Yeah.
And it was right after they used it. He co-opted the term, and he used it successfully, like for himself, like you said, which is like fuck. That's not good. Now he just gave him another weapon.
Is he an idiot or an idiot savant? I don't know.
At sometimes, man, and then you watch him, and like I'm always like, dude, he's just a big child.
Yeah,
maybe he's just acting like a big child.
He's the Tommy Wiseau of politics. No one will ever know.
Yeah.
Stumbled into it, or he's really a genius.
Who fucking knows? It's so true. I think everything's right. We need to focus locally, and then federally will kind of come along once we get there. But another thing, like we're kind of talking about the profiteering that the media has been making off the elections, like the news, and all the commercials. In France, they just had their primary and presidential election where Macron won against Le Pen, but they had their primary, and then 2 weeks later they had the general election. I mean, could you imagine here if we had all the primaries in all the states on the same day, and then 2 weeks later we had the general election?
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Wouldn't that be insane? The media would not want that.
Just for because 2016 was bad enough, and then there was this drawn out political process that started in the summer. It started in the summer of 2015, more or less.
Yeah.
Oh god. Well, for Hillary Clinton, it started in like 2009. But yeah.
But if it would have been even longer, I think Bernie would have benefited because he started out he had no name recognition.
None.
So I think he would have even went longer. He would have. I think he would have pulled out a little more.
Do you guys remember his announcement?
Yeah,
and it was
like 4 people.
It was like a canvas sign that was like visible duct tape holding up.
He's keeping it cheap, Like he's like, we got to keep it affordable. We can't spend as much as the billionaires.
He's asking for donations so they can hire a merch person.
Anybody want to print hats for us? We need some hats.
But, dude, Bernie, I saw him in, we were talking about the Montana election where the Bernie crowd was running. He had a speech and Bernie, warmed up for him, man. He went out there and did a speech and it was a backstage video, right? Like Bernie warming up and then running up stage with his hands up. I'm like, dude, Bernie, he's like a fucking rock star in this political world. It's like nuts. In Montana, there's thousands of people in a gym to see Bernie, the liberal Bernie Sanders. It's quite astounding.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so amazing to me that there are successful countries in Europe doing what he's doing. Because, not to go all the way back in history, but FDR had the Second Bill of Rights, and that's basically what Bernie is. And all those guys thought that they were going to continue FDR's policies. They went to Europe to rebuild Europe after World War II, and they implemented most of those policies based on American ideas and American think tanks. Mm-hmm. So it's a proven thing. And then the best case we have against trickle down in conservative politics is the dumpster fire that is the state of Kansas right now. So both sides of which way to go. And there's such an obvious way to go in one way. But, it's just a long term, we've had a long history of communists and socialists as boogeymen in the United States. Mm-hmm. So anything pinned back to them is automatically no for half the population of the country.
Yeah, and if you think about FDR, he was the first progressive to win since the mid 1860s. Aside for Woodrow Wilson, there was no Democrats in between, and Woodrow Wilson died very recently after getting the presidency. But other than that, there was no Democrats probably until FDR. Mm-hmm. So I still don't know why the Democrats don't go with their more progressive base. I don't know. Even historically speaking, it does well.
Yeah.
So,
it really, after FDR, it went to Bill Clinton. Ever since Bill Clinton was the one who took the hard shift to the right, and now allowed the Republicans to move even further to the right. So now that's when the Democratic Party became a centrist party, and then the Republican Party is basically a almost neo-fascist party, essentially, because they're able to go so far to the right, because we're so polarized.
Yeah. I mean, let's look at the purity tests in the primaries of the two parties to see the distinction between the two of them. And the progressive wing of the Democrat Party is not that progressive even.
No.
It's not a radical party. They have pretty basic ideas.
It's policies from the 30s.
Yeah.
It's New Deal policies.
Mm-hmm. And the Second Bill of Rights, that's so important. Anyone who doesn't know about that should look that up. But one more I do have to say is it's not Bernie Sanders. I think we already said this. It's what he's encapsulating. And as I saw it, it really started under Occupy Wall Street after the financial crash, and then it kind of died out, and then it came back under Bernie Sanders, and now it kind of fizzled out. So what do you got? Do you agree with that? And then what do you think the next incarnation of this left populist movement will be?
I think Occupy Wall Street helped kick off sort of a organization of a lot of people that were sort of in individual fringe tribes, more or less. Mm-hmm. And that sort of consolidated their power because, we had a clear-cut example of what unbridled capitalism looks like. And a lot of people suffered from that. And there's still a lot of unbridled capitalism that we're dealing with right now that, we need to take a look at. And you're right. I don't think it should be called the Bernie Sanders movement. Mm-hmm. And even Bernie Sanders says, please don't call this the Bernie Sanders movement.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he starts every speech with that. This is not my thing because, it's not his thing. He wants to just let people know that this is a valid avenue. And, if these are your thoughts, these are the way you want the government to run, then organize your power into something that could swing an election, no matter where that election is. So I think get together with every like-minded friend you have, take a look at the state of the world, and figure out what you can do. I even say, if there's a dog catcher in your small town that supports Trump, vote that asshole out. Put all these people in the chow line, and then start from there and work your way up.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the Occupy movement, the main benefit it had was, I mean, if you look at Bernie, he's been saying the same thing since the early 80s. Yeah. But the Occupy movement was able to get the media attention. So I think it basically brought those C-SPAN kind of brunch with Bernie. I don't know if you've ever watched that.
Oh yeah,
I used to watch that all the time.
That girl to get maced in Occupy before the news finally reported. Like Occupy while she was huge.
Brought it to the top. Yeah,
you guys are in New York. You probably saw it firsthand. I mean, it was national. Huge, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird because I remember watching it and I thought it was like a local thing because we get a lot of local news stories. So once I saw stuff popping up more, I guess like on the internet, that's when I knew I'm like, oh, this is kind of big. It's outside of New York. But yeah, I think that, like you said, that movement was really good at kind of being eye-opening to people all around the U.S.
So the movement is definitely going to grow and something else will come, you think?
I don't know.
I mean, it has to, it's not just going to happen. People have to stay on top of it.
Yeah. But the movement's not just going to die either. So, I mean, something has to happen, in my view.
I'm worried that having a person like Trump makes it very easy for a centrist Democrat to come in because they're going to look super reasonable. I mean, I've heard people saying like, oh, we'll take Romney. So when you go that much farther right, you kind of lose a lot of bargaining power. You kind of are more willing to settle in the center. So
even Pence looks reasonable.
I don't know. I don't know if it'll push back. Yeah. So I don't know if it'll push back all the way to the left. We'll see.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's all up in the air. We'll have to see if we go centrist or go all the way. But it's crazy. We're just talking about how we saw how trickle down failed us, and now we're looking to double down on it again. It's crazy how short term memory people have.
You know what? I don't agree. I don't think they forget. Like I think the people that buy into that think if you can convince somebody that the government's against you, then automatically taxes are bad. It's hard for somebody to say, like, this is why taxes work. Like, we all live in a collective society. We want everybody to have the most benefit and the most opportunity to do that. And so, like, you take a state like Kansas, which is stripped, like, they've made some unconscionable decisions to strip a lot of social programs that hurt the most, like, vulnerable people in their state. And you sell it by saying, oh, like, well, we caught some people ripping off welfare. Yeah. Take money out of your pocket. And then all of a sudden you have a boogeyman. And that's the easiest thing in the world in politics. If you can point to somebody, say, this is why your life sucks. This villain took your money away. And that, to me, that is that's the short sell. Like that's the one-to-one sell for trickle down economics. It never works. I've never worked at a business. Like I've worked when I was a kid, I worked at restaurants and pizza places, just, food service industry. Not once did we hire somebody because taxes were low.
Exactly. Yeah. You do it because you're a business. You're having too many customers,
Right. Yeah. Like if more customers come up, then you hire people to handle that demand. Exactly. And who's the biggest base of demand in a consumer society like the United States of America, which is the lower and the middle class? Mm-hmm. It's the largest base, so they're the ones that are going to buy all your shit. So I don't know why the people with the most money don't just say, we want to give these people money, so they give it right back to us because they're going to buy our shit, and that keeps the economy.
Yeah, I almost think it's for the extreme
wealth.
It's almost a mental disorder where they have to just hoard so much money. But who knows? I mean, you're right. It doesn't make sense. I have that question all the time because it's so simple, and we're just normal people. If you give people money, they're gonna spend it. You're not gonna sit on it.
Yeah, you're good. And like an A&E show would be like billionaire hoarders.
Yeah.
It's like, I just eat all this cash in my bedroom.
But see, their corporate masters wouldn't allow that, So
who could live with only 5 yachts?
Oh my god, dude! You have to have at least 6,
Yeah.
Well, dude, thanks for coming on so much. This was a really fun show. We talked about a lot of stuff. I dig it, and I totally agree with your guys' outlook. And good luck on the 15-year anniversary show.
Thank you.
Coming up. Yeah, definitely. And so all the songs we're playing today is off the 2016 album Sunk Costs.
Yeah.
Right? Anyone can find that like on Bandcamp. And what would you guys recommend for the best place for anyone who's hearing your music today? What's the best place for them to find it online?
Thechallenge.com. It's all up there.
Okay, cool. And we'll have a link below. And yeah, I dig the music. It's super upbeat and punk and just like, it reminds me of like the good old days. So yeah, just keep doing it.
That's when we're from.
Oh my god.
Those are just the days of
Cool. Hey, well, yeah, thanks so much again for joining the Political Mosh Pit. And,
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. And here, we'll play one more on the way out. Here's Hypoxa by The Challenged.
Sometimes it's better not to know, 'cause words always have penalties. When your mind grabs for the straws, it only picks out the better things. And somewhere very far away, when an alternate universe, it could be just you and me, while humanity's depending on us. Now we will have to strive for something bigger than ourselves. Now we'll have to try just a little bit harder. Push the boundaries as our decision runs down. Revealing only our weaknesses. Revealing only our weaknesses. Revealing only our weaknesses. Revealing only our weaknesses. Sometimes it's better not to dream. This scene is science fictional. The situation is as it seems. And the characters are moldable. Written in tiny circumstance. Living on things valued promises. They can take all the stuff living means it's something valuable. Now we'll have to strive for something bigger than ourselves. Now we'll have to try just a little bit harder. Push the boundaries as our decision runs out. Revealing only our weaknesses. Revealing only our weaknesses. Revealing only our weaknesses. Revealing only our weaknesses.
All right, let's give it up for The Challenged again. That's pretty awesome. 15 years of being a band and making music and sticking together. That takes dedication and definitely shows that it's fun. So that's pretty awesome. Everyone should definitely go check out their music and check out what they're doing, because I'm really impressed and I dig the music a lot. So another awesome band down. Awesome, yes. So today, welcome to Open Mic's last call. What? Oh man. So we're kind of going to talk today about the UK election. I thought that would be interesting. And I know I have a few listeners over from the UK. So what's up, guys? And I hope I don't totally get everything wrong. I've been doing a little research, and I followed Jeremy Corbyn for quite some time. I've listened to what he had to say, and then when Brexit happened, I totally was into that. I was watching what was going on with that. I didn't really know for sure that Brexit was going to be voted in, but I kind of had a feeling just from reading and listening to all the news media and all the people online that I could get. And that was really what got me to think and know that Trump would win. And then my last prediction, yes, I was wrong. I said Marie Le Pen would win, but I really didn't look into that as much as I should have, where she was polling and everything. But yeah, I kind of made a hasty guess on that. But I definitely think that she got more votes than she would have gotten, or her father did get, 20 years ago. So the trend is growing. Now, what's going on with Jeremy Corbyn, the Labour Party, and the Labour Party? Their numbers are surging, and Theresa May's numbers are actually going down. So I have from Express, UK, what is it? The YouGov poll. So the Conservatives, they're still ahead, but not by much. It's 43% to 38%, and they've lost a little bit, and Labour has gone up. So it's really close. And like we were talking about earlier with the challenged and third parties in voting is the Lib Dems, they have 10%, and then you have UKIP with 4%, which they've actually gone down quite a bit since Brexit, from what I've understand. And then you have other, so like the Green Party, it's really making a push. So in this case, I mean, and Jeremy Corbyn is definitely not a normal neoliberal Labour Party like a Tony Blair, or, over here like a Hillary Clinton. He's actually almost kind of like a Bernie Sanders type from some of the things he's saying, but he's still harsh on national defense, but he wants to pull out some of the wars. So here's a speech he had talking about in Manchester, and about, or not in Manchester, but talking about the Manchester bombings that just happened at the Ariana Grande concert. It happened outside, and I think 22 people died, about 50 people were killed. ISIS claimed responsibility from, a lone wolf, and then his father and family, they were arrested also back, I believe, in Libya. So Jeremy Corbyn has a really good speech, but he actually talks about what is the cause of terrorism without blaming, the colonizing group. So it's really good. Here, let's check it out, and then I'm going to talk about it.
Over recent years, the threat of terrorism has continued to grow. You deserve to know what a Labour government will do to keep you and your family safe. Our approach will involve change at home and change abroad. At home, we will reverse the cuts to our emergency services and police. Once again in Manchester, they proved to be the best of us. Austerity has to stop at the accident and emergency ward and at the police station door. We cannot be protected and cared for on the cheap. There will be more police on the streets under a Labour government, and if the security services need more resources to keep track of those who wish to murder and maim, then they should and they will get them. We will also change what we do abroad. Many experts, including professionals in our intelligence and security services, have pointed out the connections between wars that we've been involved in or supported and fought in other countries, such as Libya, and terrorism here at home. That assessment in no way reduces the guilt of those who attack our children. Those terrorists will forever be reviled and implacably held to account for their actions. An informed understanding of the causes of terrorism is an essential part of an effective response that will protect the security of our people. that fights rather than fuels terrorism. Protecting this country requires us to be both strong against terrorism and strong against the causes of terrorism. The blame is with the terrorists, but if we are to protect our people, we must be honest about what threatens our security. Those causes certainly cannot be reduced to foreign policy decisions alone. Over the last 15 years or so, a subculture of often suicidal violence has developed amongst a tiny minority of mainly young men, falsely drawing authority from Islamic beliefs, and often nurtured in a prison system in urgent need of resources and reform.
Yeah, so there you go. Anti-austerity, pro helping the police and getting more money into mental health, and then talking about stopping the interventionist strategy across the world that's fueling and creating the very terrorism that we're fighting. It's insane. This is insane. And UK, it's pretty much all of the Western countries that are doing this. Everyone in the blockade who went with the U.S. to attack Iraq, we all have, all of our countries, and thus all of us citizens, we all have blood on our hands for a war that was a lie, and that basically created ISIS. I mean, really, going into Afghanistan was somewhat justified. Granted, we've been there, we're still there. It's been way too long. We should have just went in there, killed Osama bin Laden, and get out. If anything. However, the minute we went into Iraq, that was the minute that it stopped being about 9/11 and getting justice for 9/11 and the victims, and it became a never-ending, perpetual war on terror, just a way to make money and a way to sell contracts for the military-industrial complex. That's all it's become. And the fact that Jeremy Corbyn is pointing this out, and the fact that he is so close to winning, is huge. It's huge. So the election is June 8th is when the election is in the UK, and I'm excited. Thursday, June 8th, I'm excited to watch this, and I'm going to say here on air, I've been wrong so far, so I'm probably going to say Theresa May's going to win, I think. However, I hope Jeremy Corbyn wins, and I think it's possible. It's totally possible. So anyone in the UK who's listening, I hope you guys could agree. I mean, Theresa May is just insane and cutting and all this austerity, and she wants to perpetuate this war, just military-industrial complex in this never-ending war state, and she's putting down right now, after these recent attacks, now it's basically like martial law, from what I understand, in the UK, which is just, it's getting out of hand, these wars, and then we get a suicide bomber because of their grievances of these wars, and then we double down on these failed policies that create more suicide bombers. It's insane, and it's not working, and hopefully someone like Jeremy Corbyn, he can win, and I really, really, really hope he does, and it's so close. So if anyone out in the UK, don't forget to go vote. Even if you're not going to go vote for Corbyn, just vote for whoever you're going to vote for, but yeah, you seriously, come on, you should really vote for Corbyn. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks again to The Challenge for coming on, and thanks for making it all the way through the very end of the podcast. We will check you out next week. Peace out. Thanks for checking out Punk Rock and Politics. If you enjoyed the show and the information brought to you, please subscribe and share the podcast. It helps us here at Punk Rock and Politics, but more importantly, it helps the featured bands gain exposure. Also, if you know any bands or musicians who would like to join the political mosh pit and have their music featured on the Punk Rock and Politics podcast, please email us at punkrockandpolitics@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. And rock on, political junkies.
I think our society is run by insane people for insane objectives.
Doing a better job of talking to each other. The left hand now knows what the right hand is doing.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.